I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 108. We're coming to you pre-recorded from Lima, Ohio, the home of Alter Ego Comics, and all things pop culture related. So this week, last week you may recall, we had a mountain of comics to go through, and we reported back with the ones that we liked the best. Well, we're back again this week. My mountain was not as large this week, and so I was able to successfully read everything that I took home last night. And I gotta say, I liked everything I read to varying degrees. There were some that I really liked, some I just kind of liked, but there was nothing that I disliked, which is a great week for comics. So, start things off with Guardians of the Galaxy Point 1 by Brian Michael Bendis and Steve McNiven. And this is just a fun, easily accessible, great for longtime readers too kind of book. Guardians of the Galaxy is the next major Marvel movie, I guess. That's a major Marvel movie that's not a sequel, and that will be out in 2014. So if you have any inclination towards seeing that movie and want to see what it might be about, because we don't know what it's going to be about. But I gotta say that the first half of this book feels like the opening of the movie. It felt a lot, it's a flashback sequence, and I think it would be a great setup for the beginning of the movie. Basically, we get introduced to the character of Peter Quill, who is Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's the bulk of this issue. That's why it's a point one. It's kind of an origin story for him, and then we get the first issue later on in March that will be the beginning of the story. But the ending really sets up, I think, what we're going to see moving forward. I just liked everything about this book. I liked the dialogue, and Bendis is king of good dialogue. I liked the characterization of Peter Quill. The character's been around in the Marvel Universe for quite a while. There was a highly successful, or I should say critically successful, Guardians of the Galaxy series by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning a number of years ago. Sales-wise, didn't so much burn up the charts, but I don't know if they're going to use any of that material, if they're just going to jump in and start fresh with all these guys, but I really liked it, and coming off of Nova from the previous week, I think Marvel's cosmic universe is in a very good place right now. Bendis also, I should say the artwork by McNiven is top-notch. His stuff is always good. He has done Civil War, he did Old Man Logan, and I think he brings a nice balance to the book to go with Bendis' storytelling. Bendis also did Uncanny X-Men #2 this week, and I've got to say, between All New X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and Guardians of the Galaxy, everything that Bendis is writing for Marvel now is required reading. If you're a Marvel fan, it's stuff you have to read, and if you want to be a Marvel fan, all of those books are very accessible, so come on in and check them out.
All right. My first book this week is a new #1 from Image.
Yes.
It's 5 Weapons, written and drawn by Jimmy Robinson, and it's really good. We get a lot of new Image books, and several of them have been really standout, but there's also a certain crop that's not always awesome. This is definitely one of the better ones I've read lately. You've got the story of a world not dissimilar to ours. There's some changes, but it's not anything big. And essentially the book centers around this kid's first day at a school for assassins. So you've got a school with different leagues, different types of assassins, you know, the knife people and the people that like to beat people to death, your exotic weapons who are like the stealthy people, and guns, and it's a very interesting take. You know, it's sort of winking at itself in that it's definitely a little humorous. You know, some of the names are alliterative or a little ridiculous, like Jade the Blade is the leader of the knife club. But it's also got really cool human drama, and I just really, really love the main character. A lot of the Image books, stuff like Manhattan Projects, is an ensemble book. There's not a single lead character that we follow that we're designed to feel for. In fact, in Manhattan Projects, a lot of the characters are kind of despicable, but they're humorous. And there aren't a lot of books where it's just purely driven by the affection for the character. I've never heard of this character before. He didn't exist before the series started. But in this one issue, they really make you interested in him. You want to see what he's going to do next. It's a very compelling read. So if you like indie stuff, if you liked Gladstone School for World Conquerors, kind of in a similar vein, although a little more serious than that, a little less cartoony, 5 Weapons is a great pick, and we only have a handful of them left. So if I'm even remotely good at my job, there won't be any by the time you watch this video. But we'll get more for you.
We'll make more. Next up for me is the Rocketeer Hollywood Horror #1 by Roger Langridge and Jay Bone. And if you've been watching these reviews for any length of time, you know that I'm a big fan of the Rocketeer. I really like the anthology series. Wade and Somni's most recent miniseries was very good. But this first issue of Hollywood Horror was all kinds of awesome. It had everything that I wanted to see in a Rocketeer comic. It had action, humor, romance, mad scientists. J-Bone's artwork is great for this. Langridge, if I'm saying that right, I think it's Langridge. That guy, the writer. I've liked a lot of what he's done. He's done the Popeye comics at IDW. He's done a lot of all ages content, and he was made to write this book. This book has the feel of a late 1930s, 1940s serial action hero thing. So while the previous Rocketeer stuff I really loved, if this continues on this path, this will be my favorite Rocketeer stuff since the original material.
And I especially liked in the new issue that it was very much a full story. The previous one had some pacing issues where it took a couple to get going and see exactly what was going on. But they bring in new characters, they make you care about them, they bring in a villain, so it's very clear what the story's about. Great job from Landridge. Next up on my list is Injustice: Gods Among Us #2, written by Tom Taylor with art by Mike S. Miller and Bruno Redondo. You may remember we really were surprised and enjoyed Injustice: Gods Among Us 1, primarily because of its effect on the universe, its method of storytelling. This issue, I actually laughed out loud 3 or 4 times while reading it. It continues the same story. There's still pathos. There's still characters we care about. But there are a lot of genuinely funny moments in this book. So it's great that they can kind of contrast those together. And the previous issue sold out repeatedly, but we do have it back in stock now. No, we don't. That's a lie.
We will have the second printing.
We will have the second printing.
Because now it's officially sold out everywhere.
But we have plenty of copies of 2 on the shelf, so you should absolutely check it out.
Pick up 2 now so you don't miss it when we get the second printings of #1 back in. Next up for me is Hawkeye #8 by the team of Matt Fraction and David Aja. Hawkeye's been a staff favorite here at the store since the beginning, and one of the things that we really liked about it was each issue was a standalone story. Well, that kind of changes this issue, where they pick up some plot threads from earlier issues, specifically the red-headed stranger that Hawkeye hooks up with in a previous issue, the one with the car, comes back, and we also see that the villains that he's been applying the ointment for over the last few issues, actually from the beginning, are actually coming together and deciding something needs to be done about this Clint Barton guy. And so who knows what might happen. We also get the answer to the question that one of our viewers asked earlier. Does Spider-Woman know that Hawkeye is sleeping around on her? And we kind of sort of get an answer to that. There's a very awkward moment with Hawkeye and all of his former conquests, along with the red-headed stranger. I really like this book. Having Aja back on the art duties was excellent, and there's some very cool homages to classic comic covers throughout the book that I found very enjoyable. Am I the only one that thinks this would make an awesome TV series? ABC, you've got the S.H.I.E.L.D. pilot, you've got S.H.I.E.L.D. coming out in the fall. You really need a companion series with Hawkeye and do the Fraction Aja version of Hawkeye, and everyone would watch it and love it.
And my last pick this week is FF #4, written by Matt Fraction with art by Mike Allred. And FF is good again. I've enjoyed almost every issue of FF, and this issue is especially cool because we get sort of a subset of the cast for the most of the issue. It's primarily about Bentley, who is the clone of...
The Wizard?
Not the Wizard, yes. Like
I'm
one of those
the
guys with the
Wizard.
big craniums? It's not the leader, it's the Wizard. Who is of questionable moral turpitude, and he is with a team of Moloids. Essentially, She-Hulk has decided to get back in touch with Wyatt Wingfoot, and they go out and have dinner, and the Moloids have developed something of a crush on She-Hulk, who they call the Jen, instead of the Ben, if you'll recall their affection for Thing. And so they and Bentley get together to try and sabotage this date to prevent the Jen from seeing someone else, and it's just awesome. It's classic, it's funny, it recalls other moments in comic history, but at the same time, you don't need to know anything to read it and enjoy it, and it's just great. It's a comic that is fun and I enjoyed, and I like it when I can read a book and feel good afterwards.
That does happen, apparently.
Sometimes.
Occasionally. So another really strong week for comics this week, and much more manageable from a financial standpoint. So get out to your local comic book store, come into Alter Ego Comics, and we will be your guides to pick up what is cool. We'll be back next week to regurgitate everything that we've read for you. It won't be that messy, I promise. But thanks always for watching, and we'll see you next time.